Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the essays on the Gita, as always with our beloved Ranga. We begin a new chapter today, chapter 10, the Yoga of the Intelligent Will. We completed a big chapter with Sankhya, Yoga, and Vedanta. Now this one you say is even longer.
Now it's going to be practical. It's not philosophy anymore.
Okay, very good.
The yoga of the intelligent will. I have had to deviate in the last two essays and to drag the reader with me into the arid tracts of metaphysical dogma, however cursorily and with a very insufficient and superficial treatment, so that we might understand why the Gita follows the peculiar line of development it has taken, working out first a partial truth with only subdued hints of its deeper meaning, then returning upon its hints and bringing out their significance until it rises to its last great suggestion, its supreme mystery, which it does not work out at all, but leaves to be lived out, as the later ages of Indian spirituality tried to live it out in great waves of love, of surrender, of ecstasy. Its eye is always on its synthesis, and all its strains are the gradual preparation of the mind for its high closing note. So Sri Aurobindo is going on stressing that the Gita is something very special, and its speciality is the introduction of the third Purusha. Most of the philosophies in India, they speak of the Jnana Yoga and the reaching the Brahmic consciousness, the self, which is immutable and silent. You enter into a silence where you are not doing any work at all, you are just watching. And that is supposed to be the aim of yoga in India for a long time, individual yoga.
But so does this witness soul occur on all the planes?
You can, but it occurs at the lowest. And as you keep going up, the experience will broaden out and become something even more. For instance, on the higher mind, which is the lowest plane of the spiritual planes of consciousness, or the first one above the level 1, the first one, you have pure mind and then you have the higher mind. In the higher mind, you have the experience of the self, the witness self. You are just watching without any movement and without any action. But if you go higher up, you can get the cosmic consciousness, you can experience the personal aspect of the divine, but the witness self is the base. So then you can go further and further. So it's the lowest, but that is considered sufficient, or used to be considered sufficient in India for liberation. You are not bound anymore to body, mind, life, and you need not take birth again. Yeah. That was but it has to be Jivan Mukta, not liberation after death. But while you are living in the body, you must have the experience, and it should not be an experience, it should be a realization. In other words, you are constantly in that consciousness. So many people have had experiences of it. Somebody for 2 hours, somebody for 1 day, somebody for 6 months. But then you come back. And that's not the realization, that's the experience. Not enough. You have to stabilize yourself there permanently. Then you have the choice of not coming down.
But I think these experiences are maybe touches of grace.
Oh yeah, grace can be, even at the lower level you can experience grace.
Exactly.
Touch of grace can be experienced even at the lower level, even in ignorance. I'll give you an instance. Okay, there was a gentleman who got into trouble, with the government. Okay, And the trouble was a real one. So he had made a mistake and he got into trouble with the government. They suspended him, and after inquiry they may have even dismissed him. But it was referred to mother, and this person had a very open psychic being. So mother said, when it was referred to him, he said, he deserves the divine grace. And in 2 months or 3 months time, there was no proof found and he was released. So you can get grace even at that level. Grace is something that depends on how you are receiving. The divine grace is there always. Everybody is pouring down always the protection and the grace. But are you putting yourself in a position to receive it? That's the whole question.
Yes. Yes. Good.
Okay, so I think it's fairly simple. We don't need to. What Sridhar is stressing here, the last great suggestion, that is the Purushottama consciousness. Okay, so let me again repeat, because there is a fundamental difference between Gita and the Vedanta. The Vedanta goes up to the silent mind. They do refer, Sridhar says, to the Lord, the personal aspect of the divine. But it's not systematically worked out. It's only hinted at. But here is Gita very clearly telling you level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, the Kshara Purusha. Kshara Purusha, the mutable being, which is your psychic being. It is growing. It is evolving. It's not static. Level 2 is the static, the self. There is no evolution for the soul, for the self. It is static. It supports you. And that was considered enough for a liberation in the past. But now Gita says there is a third. And in the second level of the spiritual planes, you normally experience the impersonal aspect of the divine. But when you go to the third level, both personal aspect and impersonal aspect. And that is where the love, devotion, surrender, all these things come in.
Yes.
So that's why Sridhar is saying, last great suggestion.
Yes.
The supreme mystery. Okay. So, I read the next para.
Good.
Yeah. I have declared to you the poise of a self-liberating intelligence in Sankhya, says the divine teacher to Arjuna. I will now declare to you another poise in yoga. You are shrinking from the results of your works. You desire other results and turn from your right path in life because it does not lead you to them. But this idea of works and their result, the desire of result as the motive, the work as a means for the satisfaction of desire, is the bondage of the ignorant who know not what works are, nor their true source, nor their real operation, nor their high utility. My yoga will free you from all bondage to the soul, all bondage of the soul to its works. Karma bandham prahasyasi. You are afraid of many things, afraid of sin, afraid of suffering, afraid of hell and punishment, afraid of God, afraid of this world, afraid of the hereafter, afraid of yourself. What is it that you are not afraid of at this moment? You, the Aryan fighter, the world's chief hero? But this is a great fear which besieges humanity. It's fear of sin and suffering now and hereafter. It's fear in a world of whose true nature it is ignorant, of a God whose true being also it has not seen, and whose cosmic purpose it does not understand. Why my yoga will deliver you from the great fear, and even a little of it will bring deliverance. When you have once set out on this path, you will find that no step is lost. Every least movement will be a gain. You will find there no obstacle that can balk you of your advance. A bold and absolute promise, and one to which the fearful and hesitating mind, beset and stumbling in all its paths, cannot easily lend an assured trust. Nor is the large and full truth of it apparent unless, with these first words of the message of the Gita, we read also the last. Abandon all laws of conduct and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin and evil. Do not grieve. So, Arjuna is bound to his work, and he says it will create it will give me sin if I kill all these people. So, and he is afraid of the consequences. So he says, I will not fight. He is giving up his work. So now, Sri Krishna is telling him that that's not the way to act. You should not be afraid, first of all, no fear. Secondly, you have to get rid of your attachment to your work and also to your senses. The senses are giving you horror and fear and despair. So you have to get rid of all this. And my yoga will free you. Depend on me. Abandon yourself to me. Give yourself to me fully, and I will deliver you from all. So the idea of surrender is coming in.
And to be free of attachments to the fruit of action.
Yes. Because he's saying, the fruit of my action will give you sin, give you sin.
Yeah.
Okay? And there are one or two things which are very interesting. We'll just lay stress on that. Okay? So, now, this is very interesting. If you look at yourself, we normally don't think in that way. But look at this phrase. You are afraid of many things. We are all fearful of some things. Okay? I remember there is a very interesting video of a lady. Her name was Anita Moorjani. Okay? And she had cancer and she was dying. And she was taken to from Canada, I think, from Canada or US. She was taken to Hong Kong and she was being treated in Hong Kong. Okay? And the doctors gave her 36 hours to live. Then she went out of her body and then she had the experience of the cosmic consciousness because she knew what her brother is doing. She knew what her husband is thinking, who is sitting by her side. She knew her brother is going to come. She knew all these things. It's a very interesting video.
I remember this.
Yeah. It's there. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
She has also written a book. Okay? So there she says that I was afraid of cancer. I'm mentioning that because of this. You are afraid of many things. Afraid of incurring sin. Afraid of what is tomorrow going to bring me. What is my fate? You are afraid of death. Now the most striking thing, you are afraid of yourself.
Yeah.
Now that's very interesting because I would like not to do something, but can I trust myself to control myself? I can't. If you're very, very honest with yourself, you'll say that I'm not sure whether I'll be able to control myself. You are afraid of yourself. So this is very striking what he's saying. He's saying you are afraid of many things. Afraid of sin. Afraid of suffering. Everybody is afraid of suffering. Afraid of hell and punishment. Afraid of hell is something inborn in some religions, particularly the Abrahamic religions. Okay, so and punishment. Afraid of God. What's he going to do to me? Okay, afraid of this world. Afraid of the hereafter. Afraid of yourself. So get rid of all fear. And then he says, in the Gita it is there, you will find that you are afraid of everything and you will find that even the smallest bit of my grace will deliver you from everything. Even a little of that. Just 1 second. Yeah. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear, the fear of everything. And even a little of it, little of what? My yoga will bring deliverance. So just one drop of grace will change everything in life. Okay. And then the final, what Sundar is saying, the message of the last message, abandon all laws of conduct and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin and evil. Do not grieve.
All laws of conduct.
Yes, there's a chapter in the synthesis, standards of conduct. The first standard of conduct is those who have to develop themselves, the ego. It is valid because you have to develop yourself. You are at that very low level of consciousness. So you have to develop yourself. You have to pay attention to yourself, ego, and develop yourself. Fine. Once you have done that, society will not allow you to exercise your ego too much. So the second law is the social law. Society steps in and says, you can't do this, you can't do this. You can't kill somebody, you can't tell a lie, you can't break laws. So the society puts a limit to your freedom.
Yeah.
The third is the moral law, morality, good and bad, okay, sin and virtue. And the last is the spiritual conduct where you don't apply any standard to yourself, neither ego nor the social law nor the morality. You are free. Whatever the divine wants you to do, you will do. Total freedom. So these are the 4 standards of conduct. But it is not with this deep and moving word of God to man, but rather with the first necessary rays of light on the path, directed not like that to the soul, but to the intellect, that the exposition begins. Not the friend and lover of man speaks first, but the guide and teacher, who has to remove from him his ignorance of his true self and of the nature of the world and of the springs of his own action. For it is because he acts ignorantly with a wrong intelligence and therefore a wrong will in these matters that man is or seems to be bound by his works. Otherwise, works are no bondage to the free soul. It is because of this wrong intelligence that he has hope and fear, wrath and grief, and transient joy. Otherwise, works are possible with a perfect serenity and freedom. Therefore, it is the yoga of the buddhi, the intelligence, that is first enjoined on Arjuna. To act with right intelligence and therefore a right will, fixed in the one, aware of the one self in all, and acting out of its equal serenity, not running about in different directions under the 1,000 impulses of our superficial mental self, is the yoga of the intelligent will.
And why is this intelligent will first and love comes much later?
Because you are not aware of your soul. So if he tells you what to do with your soul, it will be of no use to you. He has to give you advice at your level. And the ignorant man, even if he doesn't have an intelligent way, the ignorant man may not be fit for yoga. That's why in our Indian system, we have yoga is not for everybody. You have to have the adhikara, you have to have the right to start yoga. So if you are at the first level of conduct, or the second level of conduct, or even the third level of conduct, you may not be fit for yoga. That is why the guru in the past ancient days used to look and see which person is fit for yoga. Do you have the adhikara? Do you have the right to yoga? Otherwise it can be dangerous also for a man. If you give him a knowledge which he will misapply in life, he will be the sufferer. That story of the elephant and the mahout.
Yeah.
That's the one. So he is applying the knowledge that everything is Brahman in a wrong way, and he suffers for it. So that's the thing. So first it has to be to the intelligent will. Prepare yourself. That's exactly why the Raj Yoga also goes in a very systematic way. First it says, do these things. Okay? Do a little bit of study. Keep yourself clean. Okay? Don't tell lies. Don't steal. Very simple things. Yama, niyama. Then start preparing your body. Go systematically one by one. Then after you have done that asanas, go to the vital purification. Do the pranayama. That will purify your vital. And then finally you can come to the mind. Purify your senses and then come to the mind.
Now, Arjuna is not an unintelligent man.
That's why he will give him the yoga of the intelligent will and not the soul.
Yes, yeah, yes.
He has reached a certain level in the world where he is fit for yoga now. But he has to be given the initiative and he has to be told what to do and what not to do. There are, says the Gita, two types of intelligence in the human being. The first is concentrated, poised, one, homogeneous, directed singly towards the truth. Unity is its characteristic. Concentrated fixity is its very being. In the other, there is no single will, no unified intelligence, but only an endless number of ideas, many branching, coursing about, that is to say, in this or that direction, in pursuit of the desires which are offered to it by life and by the environment. Buddhi, the word used, means, properly speaking, the mental power of understanding, but it is evidently used by the Gita in a large philosophic sense for the whole action of the discriminating and deciding mind, okay, which determines both the direction and use of our thoughts and the direction and use of our acts. Thought, intelligence, judgment, perceptive choice and aim are all included in its functioning. For the characteristic of the unified intelligence is not only concentration of the mind that knows, but specially concentration of the mind that decides and persists in the decision. Vyavasaya. While the sign of the dissipated intelligence is not so much even discursiveness of the ideas and perceptions as discursiveness of the aims and desires, therefore of the will. Will, then, and knowledge are the two functions of the buddhi. The unified intelligent will is fixed in the enlightened soul. It is concentrated in inner self-knowledge. The many branching and multifarious, busied with many things, careless of the one thing needful, is on the contrary subject to the restless and discursive action of the mind, dispersed in outward life and works and their fruits. Works are far inferior, says the teacher, to yoga of the intelligence. Desire rather refuge in the intelligence. Pure and wretched souls are they who make the fruit of their works the object of their thoughts and activities. Okay. Now note we'll do this, we'll go center by very interesting para. Works are far inferior to the yoga of the intelligence. And yet he tells him to do the work.
To do the work.
So this is what I want to point out,
yes.
Because he's teaching him at the first level.
Yeah.
Then the second level he will tell him that no, you have to do the work also. Works are far superior, he will say. Now he is saying are inferior. Later on he will say it's far superior. Okay, so now this is very interesting what he's saying. So we'll have a look at it.
And then lastly he speaks of love being even greater than those other two.
Yes. So, there are two types of intelligence, he's saying. One is concentrated, purposeful, meaningful, and you know what you are going to do. The other is doesn't know what to do in life and goes on flitting about from one to another. Okay, this is also very interesting because suppose you want to be a doctor. You have got fixed idea and you go through the course, however difficult it be, you go through it and you achieve what you want to be. But there are some who will do 2 years of medical studies and then, this is not what I want. I'll become an engineer. You go there, you do another 2-3 years, and again you go somewhere else. This is not going to get you anywhere. So this is the sort of thing that he's saying here. Concentrated and have an aim. It brings us back to Mother's science of living. An aimless life is a miserable life. But the quality of life will depend upon the quality of the aim. Very beautiful and so clearly. First of all, you must have an aim. If you don't have an aim, it will be a miserable life. And the aim must be pursued solidly. And also there are many aims. I want to be a doctor. One child was asked in school what he wanted to be. And he said, I want to be an engine driver. So that's a very, 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 very ordinary aim. But it's all right, he has an aim. Okay, so the quality of his life will depend on the quality of the aim he has chosen. Very amusing, but another child said, I want to be a father.
A what?
I want to be a father. Father.
Oh, interesting.
So, this is what Mother says, that aimless life is miserable. You must have an aim. And secondly, what is the quality of the aim? There's so many qualities. So whatever you choose, you must be fixed in your will and not flitting about. Okay, so that is the reason also why one should not flit about with your guru. There was Krishna Prem, an Englishman in Lucknow, and he was very friendly with Arjava, by the way.
Yes, I've read a lot of Krishna Prem.
So his guru was a lady there in another, in Lucknow or elsewhere. Then Dilip Kumar Roy was very friendly with him. Says, why don't you come to Sri Aurobindo? Why don't you take Sri Aurobindo is such a guru? But he refused. Krishna Prem refused. Okay, he says, no, one doesn't change gurus like that. And Sri Aurobindo supported him. And Sri Aurobindo says he's absolutely right. So once you decide something, go through with it. Okay, so that's what he's saying. The two types of intelligence. Very interesting language, just see the language. The first is concentrated, poised. Poise suggests a certain dignity and a certain inflexibility and a will. One, not 20, not 3 things, one thing. Homogeneous, directed singly towards the truth. Unity is its characteristic. Concentrated fixity is its very being. Beautiful description.
Yes.
In the other, there is no single will, no unified intelligence, but only an endless number of ideas, many branching, coursing about, that is to say, in this or that direction, in pursuit of the desires which are offered to it by life and by the environment. While reading this, I suddenly remembered there was Gunter. Gunter was an engineer in Germany. Okay, and he came here to do his yoga, and he was well known in Germany at that time. And when he came here, one day there was a strike in Pondicherry, and he used to live very near the press. So we were stuck in the press for 2 days, and Gunter also was there with us, and we used to have our meals together at night because we were not going out. There was a lot of rioting going on in Pondicherry. So then I had asked him about his, I said, you have come all the way from Germany here, this is something new to you. Are you going to, are you sure you want to be here? He says, that is why I burnt all my boats in Germany. I closed all the avenues before I come here. Now here is a fixity of will. This is what is being recommended. making sure that he won't go back. I was very much impressed by that, what he told me. Very friendly and very nice man. He lived quite an advanced age, and then he passed away in Pondicherry. So that's what he's saying. Not many branching, coursing about, that is to say, in this or that direction in pursuit of the desires which are offered to it by life and by the environment. Buddhi, the word used, means, properly speaking, the mental power of understanding, but it is evidently used by the Gita in a large philosophic sense for the whole action of the discriminating and deciding mind. Now, these two words very clearly tell you that he's talking of the Jnana Yoga. Okay? Because Viveka and Vichara, these are the two words. So, this is the Yoga of the intelligent will, Jnana Yoga. Okay? So, which determines both the direction and use of our thoughts and the direction and use of our acts. Thought, intelligence, judgment, perceptive choice, and aim are all included in its functioning. For the characteristic of the unified intelligence is not only concentration of the mind that knows, but especially concentration of the mind that decides and persists in the decision. Vyavasaya. While the sign of the dissipated intelligence is not so much even discursiveness of the ideas and perceptions as discursiveness of the aims and desires. Even the aims go on changing. Once the aim has been fixed, you may find different methods. That is also bad. But changing the aim itself of life is even worse. Once you have an aim, you have to stick to it. Okay? So, therefore, of the will. Will then and knowledge are the two functions of the buddhi. Note, interestingly, it goes right back to the source. Will and knowledge. Chit, Shakti. Will can be related to Shakti, force, and knowledge can be related to consciousness. So, Chit, Shakti, consciousness, force. These are the two things for the intelligent will, yoga of the intelligent will. Okay, so the unified intelligent will is fixed in the enlightened soul. It is concentrated in inner self-knowledge, not so much the outer knowledge. Inner self-knowledge. The many branching and multifarious, busied with many things, careless of the one thing needful, is, on the contrary, subject to the restless and discursive action of the mind, dispersed in outward life, and works and their fruits. Works are far inferior, says the teacher, to yoga of the intelligence. Desire rather refuge in the intelligence. Poor and wretched souls are they who make the fruit of their works the object of their thoughts and activities. So, when you are, but it's very valid at the level of the first level of conduct. I have an aim and I want the result. That's fine. But when you are doing yoga, you should not worry about the result. You do the thing as best as you can with a concentrated mind, leaving the result to God. So in the beginning it is valid, but not in the end. That's why that chapter is so important. Standards of conduct.
Yeah.
At which level are you? We must remember the psychological order of the Sankhya, which the Gita accepts. On one side, there is the Purusha, the soul, calm, inactive, immutable, one, not evolutive, static. Not evolutive means static, silent. On the other side, there is Prakriti or nature force, inert, without the conscious soul, active, but only by juxtaposition to that consciousness, by contact with it, as we would say, not so much one at first as indeterminate, triple in its qualities, capable of evolution and involution. The contact of soul and nature generates the play of subjectivity and objectivity, which is our experience of being. What is to us the subjective first evolves because the soul consciousness is the first cause, inconscient nature force only the second and dependent cause. But still, it is nature and not soul which supplies the instruments of our subjectivity. First, in order, come buddhi, discriminative or determinative power, evolving out of nature force, and its subordinate power of self-discriminating ego. Then, as a secondary evolution, there arises out of these the power which seizes the discriminations of objects, sense mind or manas. We must record the Indian names because the corresponding English words are not real equivalents. As a tertiary evolution out of sense mind, we have the specializing organic senses, 10 in number, 5 of perception, 5 of action. Next, the powers of each sense of perception, sound, form, scent, etc., which give their value to objects for the mind and make things what they are to our subjectivity. And as a substantial basis of these, the primary conditions of the objects of sense, the 5 elements of ancient philosophy, or rather elementary conditions of nature, Panchabhuta, which constitute objects by their various combination. So he is giving you the Sankhya philosophy. Okay? And earlier we have in the Sankhya philosophy there were some charts. So next time we will go through this and explain the Sankhya philosophy, and I will make a copy of this chart that I have made, what he's talking about here, and we'll put it on the show it to the camera
Very
so that
good. Yes.
anyone who is interested can follow it up. It's Sankhya philosophy, what he's explaining. So this is the Sankhya philosophy, the 24 principles of Prakriti.
So when Sri Aurobindo says we must record the Indian names,
Yeah,
manas,
that's right.
is there any correspondence, slight
The
correspondence?
only way you can describe it is physical mind, is the manas.
Okay.
The manas is that part of your mind which interprets your senses. Note that the senses are only collecting data from the physical world. The eyes are only collecting images. But your understanding of the images will be there only if the brain is there. So, this is a very fundamental thing which you have to understand, that first of all the senses are giving you data. Sight data, sound data, smell data, taste data and touch data is coming. Hot, cold, sweet, okay, pleasant, unpleasant, and the senses are collecting data, sending it through the brain, through the nerves. The nerves are carrying these sensations and going to the brain. The brain is telling you what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are smelling, what you are touching. If the nerves are not there, senses are working, but the brain is not getting the data to interpret. Okay? If the brain becomes silent, senses are working, nerves are working, the data is given to the brain, but the brain says, I am not going to work, I am on a holiday. Experience of the illusion of the world. So this is what you have to understand, that all the three have to work. I'll give you an example to make you understand very clearly. A newborn baby, all his 5 senses are working.
Yeah.
Does he understand anything?
No.
Because the brain has not yet been programmed to understand. So it takes time for it to do that. So it's exactly similar to the spy satellites in the sky, which take pictures of enemy territory and give them to the research center for interpretation. For instance, the 200 miles above the earth, what is it showing you? It's showing you rectangles, lines, and certain black spots and things. So how will you know what those black spots are? How will you know what this line is? Is it a road? Is it a river? Or is it something else? Is it a wall? So those who are expert at it have to interpret the images. The data is given to them, they have to interpret. If you get a picture of from the satellite, you will understand nothing. So they have to be interpreted. That's what the Manas does. The Manas interprets the data coming to it. That's the physical mind.
Great. Thank you, Ranga. Namaste all. Tomorrow we will have Savitri at 6 o'clock, same place.